Okay, welcome. This is the Unit 7 study guide, objective number 3, okay? And we're looking at question number 9. This is the review section. When you look at this, you see that it's got exponents, it's multiplication in the middle, there's no addition, no subtraction. This is your exponent properties right here, okay? When you see a parentheses with an exponent on the outside, you need to know that that means distribute to all the bases inside there. And so everything that's a letter or a number inside there that's big gets the exponent distributed to it, whether it has an exponent or not. Okay? Technically it does. The 2 has a 1 on it, and when you distribute, you multiply. So you should end up with 2 to the negative 4, x to the 3 times negative 4, and y to the 2 times negative 4. And I guess you could put 1 times negative 4 if you wanted to on this 2, if that made it clearer to you. And so then you get 2 to the negative 4th power, x to the negative 12th, and y to the negative 8th. Okay? If you look at the second one, you have a 2 on the outside, and we need to distribute exactly like we did on the first question. And so you'll get 3 to the 1 times 2, x to the 5 times 2, and y to the 2 times 2, which gives you 3 to the 2nd, x to the 10th, and y to the 4th. Okay? So some people would say, oh, we're done. No, we're not, because we have negative exponents. Okay? You can't end with negative exponents at all. Okay? So this becomes, when you have a negative exponent, wherever it is, it goes to the opposite side of the fraction bar. So since we don't have one, technically it's underneath everything. So these will go to the bottom if they have a negative exponent. So anything with a negative exponent shifts down. Okay? And so I'm going to get 3 squared, x to the 10th, y to the 4th, over, okay? And then I've moved 2 to the positive 4 now, x to the positive 12, and y to the positive 8. It becomes positive because that's why we moved it. Okay? So now, 3 squared really equals 9. And I'm going to write x to the 10th, y to the 4th, over 2 to the 4th, which is 16, x to the 10th, not 10th, 12, y to the 8th. Okay? So now we're going to break these down into their individual parts. So you're going to look at just the numbers. You're going to take 9 and divide it by 16. And you're going to find that it won't reduce. So it'll stay 9 over 16. Okay? Don't give me a decimal. Do 9 divided by 16. Math enter, or try to reduce it by yourself. Okay? So now let's look at the x's. You have x to the 10th and x to the 12th. Which one's bigger? X to the 12th. It's on bottom, so our answer is going to be on the bottom. And then when you're dividing, you subtract. So what's 12 minus 10? That's 2. So you have 2 x's left on the bottom. Here, I'll write it better. 2. Okay? Still not much better. For some reason I can't write it down here. Let's do that kind of 2. Alright. And then we'll look at the y's. You have y to the 4th and y to the 8th. Which one's bigger? Y to the 8th. It's on bottom, so it goes on bottom. And then what's 8 minus 4? 4. Okay? And so that's the final answer. Okay? This is a non-word problem version of a quadratic. We know it's a quadratic because you see a square. Anytime you see a square, you need to get it equal to 0. So we got to get this 0 over here. So we need to add 9 to both sides. 11 is like the 9, so we're going to draw that. You get 3x squared minus 15x, and then 11 plus 9 is positive 20 equals, and then this is 0, and that gives you 4x. Well, it's still not equal to 0, so we need to subtract 4x from both sides, and it's like the negative 15x, so I'm going to put it underneath it. And so I'm going to end with 3x squared. Negative 15 minus 4 is negative 19, because they're the same sign, so you add, plus 20 equals, and 4x minus 4x is 0. So I finally got it the way I need it to be. So now you can solve it by factoring, you can solve it by doing the graph, you can solve it by doing quadratic formula. I'm going to solve it by factoring, and then you can do it the other methods if you choose to, and you should get the same answers that we get here. So now you're going to slide, so that's 3 times 20 is 60, and then negative 19 goes on the bottom, okay? And then we need the numbers that multiply to 60 and add, since it's a positive 60, to negative 19, and that's 15 and 4, and then it needs to be negative 15 and negative 4 to get a negative 19 and a positive 60. Okay, so then I'm going to go, okay, x minus 15 and x minus 4 equals 0, but don't forget about this 3. You gotta divide. That's slide, divide, bottoms up. Okay? So you gotta divide by this 3. Okay? Well, 15 divided by 3 is 5, so you get x minus 5. And then 4 divided by 3 won't reduce. Okay? And so bottoms up. So you got 3x minus 4 equals 0. And then you get x equals positive 5 and, or, I guess technically it's a better word, x equals, and then you do the opposite of 4, or negative 4, which is positive 4, over 3. And then you could set each of those equal to 0 if you'd like, but best case scenario, just remember the shortcut, and you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so that's questions 9 and 10. Let's move on to question 12, or 11. Okay, so it says find the smallest of 3 consecutive even integers. So set the product, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we know we have even. That's this one. Okay, and then we need the smallest, so that's going to be n. Okay, so now the product of the larger two. So now that's n plus 2 and n plus 4. So we're going to take n plus 2, and we're going to multiply it by n plus 4. Is equivalent to, which means equals, the sum, which tells you here, add, what? The smallest integer, squared. Which one's the smallest? Well, that's n, and we're going to square it, and 50. And remember, sum means add, so we're going to add 50. Okay? So you're going to multiply this out, and we did the box method, or you could do the distributive method that I'm showing you now, where n times n, which is n squared, n times positive 4n, 2 times n is positive 2n, 2 times 4, positive 8, 4n plus 2n is 6n, so you got n squared plus 6n plus 8 equals n squared plus 50, n squared plus 50. Okay, so you see that they have an n squared, so we need to try to get everything to one side. So I'm going to subtract n squared from both sides. N squared minus n squared is 0, so it goes away. Don't put just an n squared, because it literally just goes away. 6n comes down, the plus 8 will come down, equals n squared minus n squared is 0, and 50 will come down. Well, now it became a two-step equation, so you're going to subtract 8 from both sides. You get 6n equals 42, divide by 6, divide by 6, n equals 7, okay? And so remember, we were looking for n, so 7 is actually our number, okay? And question 12, area of a shaded region. Well, area of a shaded region is the big area minus a small area. So you take the area of everything and you subtract out this missing section, the area, and that'll give you the area of the shaded part. Okay? And remember, area for a rectangle is length times width. So to find the big area, okay, I actually cut off part of the question. And it should be 3x plus 1 right here. Okay? So to find the big area equals 2x plus 5 times 3x plus 1. And so you distribute. So you get 6x squared plus 2x plus 15x plus 5. You got like terms, so you get 6x squared plus 17x plus 5. And so I'm going to write that there. 6x squared plus 17x plus 5. Okay? To get the small area, you do x minus 1 times x plus 4. And you got x times x times 4. So that's x squared plus 4x. And minus 1 times x is negative 1x. And minus 1 times 4 is negative 4. Like terms, x squared plus 3x minus 4. And so I got that x squared plus 3x minus 4. And then remember, it's a big area minus a small area. So when I go through, I'm going to subtract. Be careful when you subtract. Really, you change all the signs of the small area. Because it's big minus a small. So I'm going to subtract x. I'm going to subtract 3, so that's a minus. And then a minus really is a plus. And so essentially change all the signs. 6x squared minus an x squared is 5x squared. 17x's minus 3x's is positive 14x's. And then 5 plus 4 is positive 9. And so then that becomes our final answer. This concludes objective number 3. For your study guide, there's only one more objective left, so you're almost there.